The wheels on the must bus go round and round.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you're listening to this podcast, it's always free, and I always appreciate your support. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get started. Get in on the regular season action. Just go to FanDuel, because right now, new customers, you can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, yeah, the wheels on the must bus, they were moving. Team was playing pretty well. And even when the team trailed by, I think it was 15 points early in the second half, they kept playing. They didn't quit. The bus just kept plugging along. Literally, for 38 minutes, this game went back and forth. It was full of runs. Each team had their runs. USC never had a huge lead, but they did have a few runs to get back into the game because Michigan had larger leads. Like I said, the largest lead of the game at one point early in the second half, 15 points for the Wolverines. So, I think you know where I'm going with this. USC lost again, 85-74 to the Wolverines. This is my instant reaction show for basketball. Welcome to the hoop season since football's over. So for 38 minutes, back and forth. USC played well. They were playing tough. They're undermanned. And then the wheels just kind of fell off in those last 2 minutes. So Michigan, they opened up the game, making their first 5 shots, all from behind the arc. They were 10 for 16 from three-point range in the first half. Yeah, it's a really good percentage. And they led most of the game, like I said. But when you look at the time of possession, who held the lead, it was Michigan for 38 minutes. I think USC had a total combined 2 minutes where they actually held the lead of game time. Just to kind of break it down for you, USC led 20-19 first half, 28-27 first half, 30-29 first half, 32-31, 38-36, and that was their last lead in the first half. There was about a minute and a half left, 2.5 minutes, whatever it was. But that's it. They never led by more than 2, and they trailed by 4 at halftime. In the second half, they like I said, it was a much more competitive thing as far as bouncing back and forth. USC's final lead, I think, was about 6.5 minutes, maybe a little bit less than that. Anyways, I'll get to it. So Michigan came into this game. They were favored to win by 5.5 points. They also had a size advantage. They start 2 7-footers. Remember when USC had that going for them? Yeah, well, not right now. But despite those 2 7-footers for Michigan in the first half, USC actually outscored the Wolverines 14-6 in the paint, and they out-rebounded them 16-12. You did hear me mention their three-point shooting. The halftime stats. You hear these numbers, you think, you know what? How come USC didn't have the lead? Well, here they are. So Michigan led 42-38 at the half. I mentioned they were 10 for 16 from behind the arc. They only made 3 2-pointers. So they were 3 for 11 from 2-point range, layups inside the arc. USC, meanwhile, just 1 for 3 from 3-point range. Yeah, 1 for 6 from 3-point range. But again, 14 for 22 from the rest of the field. I mentioned they out-rebounded them 16-12, and then they held that advantage in the points in the paint 14-6. So you're thinking, all right, you're getting to the basket, you're out-rebounding. Why aren't you winning? Well, it's that 3-point stat. It comes back to that. When you're getting 3 and you're only getting 2, when the other team's getting 3 and you're only getting 2, you're losing. Just the way it works. It's math. In the second half, USC made the adjustment. The reason why Michigan was able to make the three-pointers with ease, one, they were just hot, but also USC wasn't helping them defensively. You were taught to go over the screen, move the shooter off his spot. USC was dropping below the screens. So it was literally just line it up, shoot it, rip it, run back, play defense. That's what they were doing in the first half. In the second half, they made the adjustment. Michigan, 0 for 8 from three-point range. But again, they made it up in the paint. This is where they went big. And what I mean they went big is in the second half, because they couldn't make their outside shot, they fed the big guys in the paint, specifically Danny Wolf. They outscored USC. Well, not sure what the actual outscoring output was. Michigan had 32 points in the paint in the second half. Again, just 6 in the first half. Significant difference. And while the free throw shooting numbers were equal as far as, attempts, it did just feel like in the second half that Michigan was getting all the calls. Coach Musselman pointed it out after the game in the press conference. It just kind of felt a little uneven going down the stretch. It was just like boom, boom, boom. They're getting calls. They're going to the free throw line. I'm not saying it made the difference. It didn't. But it made it difficult for USC to get back into the game. So anyways, here's the thing. And I'll talk about this more in the later in the show. But in the second half, like I said, Michigan, it felt like they were getting all the calls. And I think it's easy to understand why the refs thought it was a Michigan home game. Yeah, USC fans, you're terrible. Horrible. Apathetic. And just take the A off the front of that word. I'll talk more about that later. But when I do, I'm coming hard. Grab your ankles, guys. Yeah. Anyways, USC, they had a chance to win this game. They were in it towards the end. And then when Desmond Claude fouled out, I think any chance that they had pretty much evaporated. They weren't going to be able to pull off the upset at home. USC doesn't have a point guard, a true point guard. Coach Muss, he needs a point guard as badly as Lincoln Riley needs a couple of offensive linemen. Yeah, we're going to talk about that on Monday's show. But USC, look, the football team, they need a quarterback. They need a linebacker coach. They need a couple of offensive linemen. Coach Muss, he needs a point guard desperately. When we were talking after the game, he's like, look, this is the team. This is the team we were able to put together. It's a bunch of transfers, and he's right. But they're all the same size. They're all in the same size range. And he was pointing it out. They're all, 6'5", 6'6" to 6'8". So they don't have any size. And that's what happened in the second half. They were chewed up in the paint by Danny Wolf. He's a transfer from Yale. Dude went crazy. He's going to be an NBA player. He also played for the Israeli national team over the summer. He finished the game with 21 points. He was 9 for 12 shooting from the field, 13 rebounds. Oh, by the way, he also led the Wolverines with assists, 7. He had a really good stat line. USC just didn't have anybody that can defend him. Remember, I was like, I've seen this guy play somewhere before. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember. Danny Wolf, Yale, Auburn. Upset Auburn in the first round. I guess the guy's got talent. But like I said, USC didn't have anybody to defend him. During practice, they were trying to simulate, Michigan's size. They just don't have the guys right now. So Coach Mott said they have a grad assistant coach. I saw him helping the team warm up before the game. It kind of looks like a big tight end or an offensive line guy. So unfortunately, I guess he's out of playing eligibility. Otherwise, I was like, put a uniform on this guy. So besides Josh Cohen, who's 6'9", 6'10", but he's light. He's got no junk in the trunk. You can push him over pretty easily. So you got him. You got Rashawn Agee, who's what, 6'7", 6'8". But again, he's not very long. He's more of a power forward, thick guy. And then you have Kevin Patton Jr. You got his length. We'll talk about him in the next segment. So again, when Michigan made their adjustment at halftime, decided, you know what, we got to use our size advantage. They went inside. Their new head coach, he was coaching Florida Atlantic last year, took them to the Final Four. So 2 programs, 2 new head coaches. Michigan's got the better team as far as having a point guard, a center, a couple of centers. It's more evenly dispersed. Where USC right now, they got some athletes, but they're all the same size. They have to play small ball. So as you can see, that's what we're going to talk about in the next segment. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers, you can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And FanDuel makes it really easy to get that win. You just don't have to bet on who's going to win the game. You can also bet on how many players are going to score a touchdown, who's going to kick field goals, what's going to be the final score. You can do all that at FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com. Join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So if you watch USC's men's basketball team, you recognize that, you know what, they don't have any big size. They don't have anybody that can really compete down low. And in the Big Ten Conference, you need those guys. I can't remember the last time USC ever had somebody like a Big Country Reeves. Remember him? That's the type of body size you need. Somebody big, a big oak tree that you can plant in the middle of the lane. Make things easier for your perimeter guys. Right now, USC's best players, from my eyes, you got Desmond Claude, who is your main ball handler. Kevin Patton Jr. had a really solid game. He's the transfer from University of San Diego. And then Wesley Yates, a redshirt freshman, the transfer from the University of Washington. So those two guys, those last 2 guys, they're young, but they are the future of this program, as long as they stick around. We all say that only because you never know with NIL and the transfer portal nowadays. But as far as looking at their numbers on the game, so Kevin Patton, he didn't start, but he played almost 28 minutes. He was 6 for 10 from the field. When he came off the bench, he literally lit a spark. His length, his offense, he plays defense. So 6 for 10 from the field. He finished with 14 points, 2 assists, no turnovers, 2 steals. And he also blocked 2 shots. He probably should have been credited with another one. Again, the refereeing was kind of spotty, iffy, but it is what it is. And then after that, you had Desmond Claude. He fouled out. He played 31 minutes of the game. He tied for the lead in scoring with Wesley Yates. They both had 19 points. Claude had 4 assists, 5 turnovers, 1 steal, and we get to Wesley Yates, who I'm really impressed with. This young man, I like his game. He's more of a combo guard. He's put together really well. You kind of look at him and go, oh, that guy can play safety, maybe running back in college. But again, 19 points for Wesley Yates on 7 of 12 shooting. But that's pretty much it for his stat line. He did have 6 rebounds, so let's give him credit for that. The issue with this team, when you look at the plus minus, there was 1 player who finished the game with a plus, and that would have been Desmond Claude, but he fouled out. +3. Everybody else is in the negative. They just don't have the size to defend. The effort's there. Don't get me wrong. This team is not, lackadaisical. They're not lazy. But they're going to have a hard time competing and defending bigger teams. A couple of their better players weren't available for this game. For instance, Trent Williams, the transfer from Michigan. Don't you think he might have wanted to play against his former teammates? USC has a player from Yale, Matt Noling, again, hurt, not available. Don't you think maybe he might want to maybe stood up there with Danny Wolf, see what he can do? He knows his game. The challenge with USC's basketball team is when Claude has to come off the court, it's not good. They have to play small, and they don't have a true point guard. So you get a lot of, one man, 1-4 high-low type of sets, and it just seems like they're trying to get to the basket, draw foul, make the free throws. You're not going to be able to do that without a true big presence down low. That's what we're working with right now. So while Claude is their best ball handler, and Coach Musk kind of joked about this after the game. He's not sure if he's going to ever let him inbound the ball again. If you're watching the game on TV, because you weren't at Galen Center, and we're going to get to that in the next segment, you might have noticed on a couple of, and I think it was on back-to-back inbounds plays, it kind of felt like he threw one of those Jaden Mayab or Miller Moss. Where were you throwing that pass? Because you threw it right to the other guy. You can't have that happen because they turn around and they take it right down the court for points. And at one point, USC had 8 turnovers, and Michigan converted that into 12 points off of turnovers. Let's see if I can find that. I'm not going to bury my head in this stat sheet. Too many turnovers, and Michigan took advantage of them when they happened. So that's part of the problem with the program right now. You don't have, besides Claude, you really don't have a really good ball handler. So once he comes off the court, where do you turn to? You're going to put the ball in Wesley Yates' hands. He's getting there, but again, he's more of a combo guard. He's not a point guard. He's not a ball handler. Kevin is a little loose with his handles, but I like his length. I like him to hit the weight room. He could use a little bit more meat on his bones. But I like the way they play the game. You can tell they have a high basketball IQ. There was a portion during the second half where Patton and Yates were getting a little two-man game going on the wing, and it was working. But, you can only do that so many times. The other team's going to make the adjustment. So you really noticed USC's ball handling challenges, their issues. In the second half, after coming out of a timeout, Michigan decided to go to, I think it was a 2-2-1 or maybe a 2-1-2 full court press. Yeah, USC struggled. They did it twice, both times. One time it was a turnover. The other time USC barely got it across midcourt. So we'll see what happens going forward. Their next few games, so they'll be at Indiana on Wednesday, and then after that they go to Illinois. Good luck. Have you ever heard of Rocket Money? Did you know that Rocket Money can help you find subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for more than once, twice? Yeah, that happens a lot. Rocket Money has made it easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It helps monitor your spending, and it helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions. And it's also helped save their members up to $740 a year when you use all their premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions. Reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. So I mentioned earlier in the show that maybe the referees thought they were reffing a Michigan home game. USC fans, have some pride in your program, in your school. And I get it. It's the winter break right now, so the students aren't really around. I'm going to cut them a little bit of latitude right now. They had a nice little student section. I think there was almost 8,000 fans in attendance for this game. For a USC basketball, let me state that again. First of all, Galen holds 10.5, something right there is capacity. There was close to 8,000. I swear, 6,000 of them, they were Let's Go Blue fans. All game long, you heard Michigan fans. Let's go Blue. That was their chant all game long. And when they weren't chanting that, they were chanting Jared Goff, the Detroit Lions quarterback. It was weird. Michigan fans are weird. And I believe the Detroit Lions are in town. So, but again, I don't know what that has to do with the USC basketball game. Nobody on USC was wearing number 16 on the court, so they weren't mocking that person. It was weird. Kevin Patton was standing at the free throw line. All of a sudden, they break out the Jared Goff chant. You know, like, Jared Goff, clap, 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 clap. Like, what are you guys doing? But they were able to do whatever they wanted as the fans. They owned the arena. It was embarrassing. It was pathetic. USC fans, you're hopeless. You really are. Look, I get it. Oh, give me a winning product and we'll show up. Stop it. Stop it. So tired of that excuse. It's just, I guess things are just different across the country, particularly in the Midwest. I mentioned earlier, USC is traveling to Indiana. They're going to be in Bloomington. That place will be sold out. 15,000 show up every game. Then they play in Illinois after that. Probably have close to 20,000 for that game. Coach Musk said it after the loss. You have to win your home games. You have to have a home court advantage. Right now, USC they're 0-2 at home in conference. They lost to Oregon and now Michigan. They had Oregon. Both these games ended in a similar fashion. USC had the lead. They were in the game. And then they just kind of wear down at the end because they don't have the size, especially down low. Oregon's got a couple of big guys. I think last name Biddle is one of them. Michigan plays with 2 7-footers. Michigan's 7-footers aren't overpowering. They're not huge and brawny type of guys, but they know how to play with size. USC just doesn't have any. So here you are, you're playing at home. Michigan, their fans are embarrassing you. And now you're going to go find out what it's really all about to play in front of a hostile environment in this conference. Indiana is a blue blood when it comes to basketball. Illinois, we won't call them a blue blood, but they got a pretty good history when it comes to basketball as well. And then after that, guess who USC gets? They come home, they'll host Iowa, and they'll host Wisconsin. Then they'll go on the road, they'll play at Nebraska, where they don't lose in Lincoln. And then USC comes home to play UCLA. Right now, USC is 1-2 in conference play, 10-5 overall. What do you think their record's going to be after that stretch? Pick the wins. Tell me where USC is getting a win. Is it going to happen in Indiana? I guess it's possible. Indiana's not a great team. It ain't going to happen in Illinois. Maybe they get a split between Iowa and Wisconsin at home. Nebraska, UCLA. You let me know. Hit me up in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this bonus edition, this instant reaction. We're going to be doing basketball. We will be doing basketball. And I will be back with another episode of Locked on USC. I'm going to be talking about Emmanuel Prignon, what's going on there. Let you know what I find out. So until that next episode, everyone, you know what to do.